You know that feeling, right? That hot, stinging, awful feeling of being humiliated? It's one of the worst feelings out there, and it can make you question everything about yourself. But what if, and this is a big what if, that whole feeling has almost nothing to do with you? Today, we're going to flip the script on what humiliation is really all about. So when it's happening in that moment, it feels so incredibly personal. It feels like a giant spotlight is just shining down on you, on your mistake, on your flaw. But what if I told you it's not really about you at all? Let's dive in. And this right here is the core idea we're exploring today. And trust me, it's a game changer. The research is clear. When someone tries to humiliate you, it's not a display of power. No way. It's actually a massive flashing neon sign of their own weakness. So yeah, let's unpack that. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the person who's actually doing the humiliating. We're going to look at the emotions that are really driving their behavior. Because what you're seeing on the outside, it's not about you. It's a projection of their inner world. So, what's the number one emotion hiding behind that mask of superiority? It's fear. Plain and simple. Now, this fear can show up in a few different ways, but it's almost always rooted in a deep, deep sense of inadequacy and this desperate need for control. And insecurity? This is the big one. This is driver number one. When someone feels like deep down that they're less than, whether it's about their career, their relationships, whatever, they might just lash out. Humiliating you becomes their go-to tactic. It's this really misguided attempt to feel taller by pushing you down. And this just nails their internal logic, doesn't it? It's a zero-sum game in their mind. The only way for them to feel big is to make someone else feel small. It's actually kind of sad when you think about it. A really fragile way to try and build up your self-worth. Okay, and this is where it gets super interesting. Sometimes it's your strengths that trigger their weakness. Seriously, if you're competent, or you're calm under pressure, or you're just independent, and that shines a light on their own insecurities, they might try to shrink you down. It's like a preemptive strike. They're trying to dim your light so they don't feel so overshadowed. And then sometimes, humiliation is just purely about dominance. But listen, it's not the dominance of a confident, strong leader. Oh no. It's the panicked action of someone who is terrified of losing their grip. And that fear usually comes from a deep-seated belief that if they're not in command, nobody will respect them. So the crucial point here is that this isn't leadership. It's all about control. They're trying to control the narrative, a story where they don't feel vulnerable. All that aggression you're seeing, it's just a defense mechanism against their own internal fear of being irrelevant. And this need for control often comes from a really fragile ego. For someone like that, their self-image is like a house of cards. A simple disagreement or even a friendly challenge can feel like a personal attack that threatens to knock the whole thing down. Humiliation becomes their shield, a way to deflect before their brittle ego gets bruised. All right, so beyond fear, the other huge driver is unresolved pain. And this is where the behavior can get even more confusing, because it really truly has nothing to do with you. It's all about their own inner turmoil getting redirected and dumped right onto you. This is a classic defense mechanism. It's called projection. So here's how it works. A person feels a deep sense of shame or self-hatred, but they just can't sit with that painful emotion. So what do? They project it. They try to make someone else feel that shame, just to get a moment of relief from their own. Think of this as emotional immaturity in action. I'm sure we've all seen it. When someone is just filled with anger or frustration, but they lack the tools to talk about it constructively, they just default to attack mode. And unfortunately, you just happen to be the nearest target for all their unresolved stress. And honestly, it's that simple and that primitive. There's no complex strategy here. It's just a purely reactive state, an emotional outburst from someone who is in a state of inner chaos, not clarity. And sometimes the reason is even colder. Some people humiliate others because they're emotionally numb or detached. They genuinely cannot connect with or feel the pain their words are causing. It's not that they don't care, it's that they can't. Their inner world is often just empty. This lack of empathy doesn't just come from nowhere. It's often rooted in their own past trauma, like neglect or being bullied themselves. It can also come from suppressing their emotions for so long that they've just lost touch. And in some cases, yeah, it can be a trait of narcissism. And finally, Let's be honest, there's a cheap thrill involved. Humiliating someone can provide a brief, fleeting dopamine hit, a rush of feeling powerful. But it fades fast, which is why the behavior often gets repeated. It's like a drug, and it reveals an emotional hunger, not true, lasting confidence. Okay, so we've looked behind the mask of fear and pain. Now, let's just put it all together and see the huge contrast between the illusion they're trying to project and the reality of what's really going on inside them. This slide just lays it all out perfectly. The strength they project, it's really deep insecurity. The confidence, just a mask for fear. That air of superiority, it's just covering up their own shame and frustration. And that big show of control, it's nothing more than emotional immaturity. So, if there's only one thing you take away from this, let it be this. The act of humiliation is never, ever a reflection of a healthy, strong, or confident person. It is always, without exception, a symptom of someone who is emotionally struggling. Period. So, the next time you find yourself on the receiving end of a comment like that, I want you to remember this. What you are witnessing is a window into their inner emotional state, not a judgment on yours. It is never a true measure of your worth. You are not the one who is broken. And I'll leave you with this final thought. Once you understand that their behavior is coming from a place of weakness and fear and pain, who really holds the power in that moment? The person who's lashing out or the person who has the clarity to see it for what it truly is?